Today we're gonna talk about marriage. Now, I'll just dive in, okay? It was God's original idea of marriage. Marriage is God's idea, or was God's idea. In the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, I'll read. A man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. So, according to God, 1 plus 1 is equals to 1. Okay? So, being God's original idea, it is before, as you go into marriage, you want to know that whether you're the lady or the man, that you will leave your past and go and join this other new person, and the two of you will become one. Okay? So friends and relatives need to stay out of people, especially newly married people. Now, we go to the book of so if it was God's idea for marriage, then how do you get a good wife, or how do you get a good husband? Okay? So we go to the book of Proverbs chapter 19 verse 14, and I read, okay? Wealth is inherited, but a prudent wife is a gift from the Lord. What is prudent? Prudent, according to the Bible, is somebody who assesses risks, takes action according with God's revealed desires. So, pray before you go for marriage. Pray that you get a prudent wife. If she is prayerful, how do you get a revelation from God? Through prayer. So try to get, especially if you're a Christian, try to go for a fellow Christian or a prayerful woman or lady before you get married. That way she can be prudent. She can be able to discern. How do you discern? Because God talks to her. Okay? You can also say, do not believe, a prudent wife does not believe everything that she hears. Ability of judging what is the best choice for both ends and means in marital decisions. Okay? So, some of you who are trying to get married or remarried, pray to God to give you a prudent wife, because a prudent wife is a gift from God. You cannot change people. Okay. Then I'll read Proverbs 18 verse 22. He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Now, married people, by the way, obtain favor from God. Favor could mean wealth, could mean happiness from God. Married people, you will realize that, by the way, you realize that married people are very happy in your places of work, in school, they're just happy because they get favor from God. So don't underline that. Favor from God. Now, number 4, forgiveness. Okay? Now you're married, you're living together, and now life starts. Now in life we fall short. In the book of 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8, it says, Apostle Peter says, actually in 1 Peter 4:8, it was the original word was kalupto. Kalupto means cover. So, love covers a multitude of sins. Your husband or your wife will sin against you a few times or many times. For this marriage to sustain, you will or must be able or want to cover her sins or forgive her sins. So we talk about that is forgiveness. For those who are going to marry or to remarry, you must be ready to forgive your spouse and even cover for his or her sins. All right. We'll read Ephesians chapter 5 verse 25. I'll read. Husbands, Love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, for the church. Now, this is, by the way, many Christians, many of us interpret this as Christ died for. No, this is not death. This is taking his time for the church. Remember that Christ started his ministry at the age of 30. And in the 3 years that he did ministry, if you read in the four books, the gospel, Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John, Jesus almost spends the entire 3 years really preaching. So he gave up his time with for the church, and that's why they're comparing how Jesus gave up his time for the church, and that's how we should need to give our time for our spouses. Okay, so time is very important. So you want to spend more time with your spouse. How do you spend more time? Because you already live together. Okay, you live together. Because somebody left their parent, and you left their parent, and they now live together in maybe one house, hopefully. Okay. Dedication. I'll read from 1 Corinthians verse 13, chapter 13, verse 4 to 8. And here Paul presents us with a beautiful and challenging description of love. He calls us to love, to a love that is patient, kind, that isn't jealous, isn't boastful, and proud, slow to anger, and keeps no record of wrong. So how do you practice this? Because you're dedicated, because now you spend time together. In most American setup, people are married but they don't really live together. So you cannot it is in the best interest of a marriage to sustain that you live together, so that you can practice what Paul is preaching here: dedication. Spend more time together. In fact, in Old Testament, when you go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 5, okay, Deuteronomy is one of the 5 books of Torah, and it is believed that Deuteronomy was dictated to Moses by God himself. So it is God's idea again that you married, who will get married or remarry, live together. In fact, in Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 5, it says, if a man has already married, he must not be sent to war or any other duty laid on him. For 1 year he has to be free to stay at home and cheer up his wife. This was an ancient this book is written in ancient Greek, ancient Jewish setup. Okay, so when someone got married or was married or got married or married, they were not given heavy duties. They expected that this man need to be with his wife at home for even a year. They would not even send them to war. So this one is if you put it in today's context, you need to spend more time with your spouse once you are married. Thank you so much, and I pray for whoever is planning to marry or remarry that God blesses your marriage and you follow God's principle, because marriage is originally God's own idea. Thank you so much.